Testing 1, 2. Testing on my second mic.
Good evening and welcome to the Gifford Fire Community Meeting. My name is Lynn Sealight and I will be, excuse me, sorry about that. I will be presenting to you right now. We will have a formal presentation, and then after the presentation, if you have questions, we ask you to write them down and we will hand them to our speakers and have them answered for you. If you have a question during the question and answer period, we can get the microphone to you. First, we're going to have our operations update from JT Soar.
Good evening, JT Soar, Planning Section Chief for Team 8. Update on the fire, we've bumped the containment to 97%. That's due to continued operations, patrolling, and addressing heats near the line in the high mountain area. As we know, that's really rugged terrain. It's oak woodland. Those trees and dead fuels hold a lot of heat for a long period of time. And so by using ground patrols, in addition to infrared imagery from the air, we're able to kind of identify some of those hot spots and go after and make sure they're not going to be a threat to the line and mitigate safely and as appropriately. Fire suppression repair also continues around the fire, specifically in the high mountain area where there's a lot of good work going on down there. And south of Highway 166, where a lot of the suppression repair is near being completed. Both the dozer lines, hand lines, roads, the fence repair, all the stuff we kind of specified on last week. With that, suppression repair is approximately 65% complete, and we'll continue to have resources through the weekend, patrolling and keeping an eye out for anything that might be a threat to the line. Thank you.
Good evening, Incident Meteorologist Trainee Jacob Zenker. I'm here from the National Weather Service to provide on-site weather support to the fire. So this week so far, we've seen temperatures that are a little bit more seasonable for this time of year compared to this last weekend. However, heading into this weekend and early next week, I expect a return to warmer than normal conditions, elevated fire weather the next few days. Starting to see high temperatures that reach back to around 100 on Sunday. That's when a heat advisory is in effect. Heading into next week, it's not going to cool down a lot, so a lot of mid to upper 90s are going to continue. The relative humidity is going to be poor in recovery overnight the next few nights and in the teens throughout much of the next week. I'll also mention that you might see a little bit of haze in the sky the next couple of days. That's from the wildfires to our north over the Sierra Nevada. So just be on the lookout for that. Otherwise, if you look at the outlook, there are no chances for rain, lightning, or strong winds. So continue not to see any of that. And overall, looking at the next 2 weeks, I expect continued warmer than normal conditions. So that's going to continue to elevate fire weather and dry things out more. Next, I'll introduce the fire behavior analyst trainee, Lee Helgeson.
Good evening, everybody. So, as you all know, the Gifford fire began on the afternoon of August 1st and quickly grew in the next coming weeks to 131,000 acres. So, fire behavior as the fire grew was influenced heavily by very, very thick, dry vegetation and steep slopes that were very difficult for the firefighters to make access to the fire's edge. Currently, the fire behavior throughout the fire has moderated significantly. Where we are still seeing activity, the activity we're seeing is just interior smoldering and a little bit of cleanup in the heavier fuels. Those fuels are going to continue to smolder until they consume. Moving forward, we do not expect significant growth on the incident, barring any unforeseen circumstances. The fuels out there, they're still very, very dry, and the current weather forecast still supports very, very large growth. Unfortunately, it is still summer, and it is still fire season in California. We will continue to see the potential for large fire growth outside of the fire area until something changes over the fire environment. So until we see significant rain, until we see a very dramatic cool down, relative humidities begin to recover, or in the absence of all that, until we see shorter daylight hours. So moving forward, we fully expect the environment to remain conducive to large fire growth. However, the Gifford fire, we do not expect it to grow from its current footprint. As the days go on, it is normal to continue to see smokes within the fire area. If you can see the fire from a distance, there is a chance that you will see smokes coming from the middle of the fire. So that's nothing to be alarmed at. It is very, very normal, and it is going to occur for a number of weeks. These interior smokes do not pose a hazard to the control features, and if you see those, just remember that's normal. With that, I'd like to introduce Michael Papa. He's the Bear team leader, and he'll tell you about his program.
All right, thank you, Lee. Good evening. Yes, I am with the Los Padres National Forest Bear team, and that is Bear Burned Area Emergency Response. If you see our logo, it's not a typo, it's BAER. We work parallel with the incident management team, but we are here to support the National Forest, and that one in your backyard is the Los Padres. So with that, what we've been doing since we mobilized our Bear team about a week and a half ago is collecting data using remote sensing, satellite imagery. It's a multi-agency approach, utilizing resources from the National Weather Service, U.S. Geological Survey, Forest Service, BLM, and lots of other state agencies as well. The main foundation of our analysis starts with a burned area reflectivity classification map, which then we fine-tune and reclassify, known as the soil burn severity map. That soil burn severity map is the basis for all of our analyses and surveys that go on, where we look at critical values of the National Forest System lands. Those critical values are categorized under life and safety, property, natural resources, and then finally, but last but not least, the cultural and heritage resources on our lands. Once we get that information from ground truthing, we come together as an interdisciplinary team and start discussing what treatments, if any, would be possible to help mitigate unacceptable risk to these resources. It's a fairly daunting task, especially for a fire this size, and unfortunately, I think we all know this isn't that big of a fire anymore, but for San Luis Obispo County, it's a pretty big one. So we've had about 23 people mobilized on our team. All of them are still active, but in the next few days, we will start to see some of our resources demobilize as they finish up all of their reports and surveys. And then myself and the team leadership will start to compile our reports and make our presentation and recommendations to the Forest Supervisor, Kim Winter. Some of the treatments that are likely to come out with that will be seasonal closures, and we're looking at conditional seasonal closures based on weather conditions or road conditions. We are trying to minimize the amount of closures to roads, trails, and recreation sites, given the amount of impact that the Los Padres experienced from the 2023 atmospheric river events. So bear with us as we work through this process. We are balancing the toughest of decisions to manage our national forests, to protect our natural and cultural resources, to provide recreational opportunities to the public, which includes hunting on national forest lands. And we have been in conversations with California Department of Fish and Wildlife regarding some of the special hunt permits that fall under the northern part of this burn area. So please stay tuned as we continue to work with our partners for the very few of you that pulled those very hard to get tags. With that, I am going to pass it off to our counterparts with SLO County OES and Kelly Van Buren.
Good evening, Kelly Van Buren, San Luis Obispo County Office of Emergency Services. Just a few things tonight. Pretty much everybody else here is still focused on the current emergency, and as we're always maybe a bit of the doomsdayers, we're actually focused on the next emergencies. Our office has pretty much started to pre-plan for the winter rainy season. As you'll hear tonight with the Bear team, and upcoming you'll hear a bit more about the WIRT team, we are focused on how we can prepare our community for the rainy season. Unfortunately, with between the two fires, between Madre and Gifford, we have over 210,000 acres that were burned here in our county, and so we are expecting some watershed challenges this winter and probably the next couple winters combined. So we're working with the National Weather Service. We'll be pre-planning forecasts and how we need to prepare our community for alerts and areas that may need to be closed or even evacuated this season when we do get some rains. So that's really our focus right now. Of course, we're always encouraging people to continue to sign up for emergency alerts. Should it be needed this winter or in other disasters between now and then, we will be using the wireless emergency alerts, but we also have some other systems that we do like people to register for. We have closed our phone assistance center, but we're still fielding calls in regards to this fire at our office phone number, which is 781-5678. So if you do have questions or need assistance, you can get help there. We are collecting data from ranchers and farmers that did have damage during this fire, but so far we haven't had any feedback on that front. But we do have it up on our website if you'd like to provide us information on damages that you sustained on your property. Other than that, I think that's all I have for tonight, so I will turn it over to Commander Arauza with the Sheriff's Department.
Thank you, Kelly. Good evening. As warnings have since been lifted, county roads are open. That said, forests closures are still in effect. There are also county ordinances should you go into these closures into the forest as well. So please be mindful of that, and that there's still fire personnel out there with equipment. And that's it for me. I will turn it over to CAL FIRE San Luis Obispo Unit Specialist Tony Davis.
Thank you. So I'm here to provide a fire prevention message. And what we have within CAL FIRE is this wonderful pamphlet that we love to share with everyone. And it's referred to as the Wildfire Action Plan. It basically has everything in it from defensible space, in that knowing when to mow. We mow before 10 a.m., never on windy days, and always have a water source available. There's more information in this book. It goes into home hardening, what to do if you were to come home and you're returning home after a wildfire. That's at the end of the book. But you can find more information at readyforwildfire.org. That's all I got. Thank you. And now I would like to introduce CAL FIRE San Luis Obispo County Deputy Fire Chief Josh Taylor.
Thank you, Tony. Good evening, Josh Taylor. My day job is I'm the Deputy County Fire Chief and Unit Fire Chief for San Luis Obispo Unit. On this incident, I'm the Fire Suppression Repair Branch for the north part of the fire. So what that means is we go out after the fire. We've been engaged for about 2 weeks. As areas of the fire start to lessen, we're able to get in and start looking at where we've damaged roads, fences, water lines, disturbed cultural areas, and we come up with plans that are unified amongst both. We've already heard from the Bear team, so we work with them to determine a unified plan to repair what we've damaged during fire suppression, right? Because during fire suppression, life, property, environment is our 3 priorities. So we are, as stated, 60% complete. We are actively engaged, repairing our lines, putting water bars in so that we don't have erosion, fixing the fence for the ranchers where we've had to go through and take our bulldozers and make fire lines. We're also fixing water lines. There are many water lines that are taking care of rural watering troughs for agriculture, water lines for crops and other things. And so it's a very tedious process. And so we have been doing that very judiciously over the past 2.5 weeks, and we probably still have a few weeks more in fire suppression repair. And I'm going to flip my hat a little bit. So my day job is I'm the deputy fire chief for the San Luis Obispo County Fire Department. As Los Padres has engaged the BEAR team, we have engaged the WORT team. And what that means is the Watershed Emergency Response Team. And that's a group of geologists, hydrologists, fire personnel, resource management personnel, and they do similarly. They take aerial data from satellites and look at the soils and go in and actually sample the soils. They do water samples and see what the water does, whether it runs off the soil or if it is absorbed into the ground, and they come up with measurements, and then they determine, based on that information, what the warnings will be like going forward. Work with what Kelly had said with our National Weather Service partners for rainfall, what that means to us, and they give us trigger points or decision points for areas that we need to be concerned with based on this report. They take all that data and then they look at a high level view of all the values at risk. So values at risk, houses, high schools, everything that you could possibly think of that would be a value at risk that we have in the county where the burned area was. And then we get it mapped for us, and then we take the information about the rainfall rates, looking at where our values at risk are. They also then look at our natural areas that take the water away from the burned areas normally, so all of our channels and culverts, and provide feedback and information on mitigation measures we can do. We successfully did this a couple of years ago on the Lizzie fire, which was up in San Luis Obispo, and the work team came in and provided the City of San Luis Obispo Public Works a lot of mitigation measures, some of which they had already been doing, but gave them some factual information in a report. That's all I have. I'd like to introduce Jeannie Dawson, Deputy Forest Supervisor for Los Padres. Sorry.
Thank you, Chief. Good evening, and thank you for joining us here in person today and also out there on the internet and in the streaming functions. I really appreciate the attention and appreciation and involvement, engagement we've had from the communities and the public through these last over 4 weeks since we've had the fire out on the landscape. I know that it's been something that's been very challenging for you all, as it has been for us. Within the last 13 months, we've had 3 large fires that have affected the Santa Lucia Ranger District, and it's been a very challenging time, I know, for the public and wanting to get out there and enjoy their public lands, and for the socioeconomic values and businesses that people depend on with the national forests. I know this is a big disruption, and I also know that we remain dedicated to help get this back to as quickly as possible a place where people can get out and enjoy their lands and put the natural condition back into restoration and get things back on track. I want to express my appreciation, because we definitely couldn't do this alone, to the agencies and cooperators who have also helped us, as well as the local tribes over these last few weeks. Even though we are not in unified command anymore with CAL FIRE, they remain shoulder to shoulder with us as we're working through the transition of the fire from the Incident Management Team 8 to our local Incident Commander Type 3, Pete Stevenson. And it's been something that we've been discussing in numerous meetings over the last few days and week to make sure that as this incident continues through time, as we move, still focus on suppression, but move into suppression repair more heavily, that we have a seamless of a product as we can have out there. I'm pleased to share that as we've been making progress on the suppression efforts and suppression repair, we have been able to revise the forest fire closure area over the last couple weeks, and we've released an update today, and that is on the different sources where you get your information. And one of the areas that I just want to point out that has been opened is the area on the southern end of the Santa Lucia Ranger District and the portion that was in the Mount Pinos Ranger District. So essentially, just about everything south of the Sisquoc River is open again. And you'll be able to see some of the effects of the suppression repair out there, and just ask you to take a little time, get oriented, and make sure that you've got a plan so you don't get stuck in a tough spot out there. But definitely want to let you know that it's open and ready for you to go out there. Over the next period of time, as the suppression repair progresses, we'll be revisiting the forest fire closure areas to further reduce that footprint. But it is very important for us to keep that in place because of the amount of heavy equipment out there. We have, I believe, just under 700 or 800 personnel out there right now, but they all still are very focused on their job at hand to put the land back into the place it was before the fire and before the suppression actions. And even though there's work that was done in areas where the fire hasn't burned, it's very important for us to complete that work to make it safer for the public to get in there. And we just appreciate that time and space to be able to do that. The last thing that any of us want to have happen is for a conflict out there in terms of heavy equipment or firefighters working out there focused on their job at hand, and and perhaps a member of the public coming in and finding themselves in a tough spot because of all the activity going on. And so I just ask you to think about the people that are out there away from their families and their home lives working on this for you, and give them a little more space and time to get that done. I also want to share that for violating the forest fire closure area, there are penalties of up to $5,000 per individual, up to $10,000 per organization, and or up to 6 months in prison. So thank you for your consideration on that. And I now will turn it over to our California Incident Interagency Management Team 8, Deputy IC Bill Miller.
Thank you. It is a mouthful. It can be really challenging, even for us. I am Bill Miller, and I am the Deputy IC for California Team 8. I'll skip the interagency and all that. I feel incredibly grateful to be here tonight and to have some time to spend with you and to the folks out who are partaking or participating in this virtually. We have had nothing but the immense amount of support and an immense amount of partnership since we got here. This team actually got here early July for the Madre fire as it was emerging, and we worked really hard to develop really strong relationships with all of our partners here on the stage and a number who aren't here. And when we got the call to come back, we were actually looking forward to actually working again with the partners that we had just had so much success with, and that we had been inspired by the professionalism and the commitment of this community and the people and the professionals that work here. So we did come back around the middle of August. I think we got activated on the 15th of August, and we came down and we shadowed for a day. We were fortunate enough to come into an already highly functioning, well-organized team with CAL FIRE and California Team 5 in Unified Command, working seamlessly together along with their partners with the counties and the BLM and the tribes. Things were moving smoothly and well. They had just They actually held back and extended an extra day or so that they could accomplish a very critical firing operation and weren't going to try and hand that off to a new team coming in mid-stroke and really a really high-tempo, dangerous situation and handing off or transitioning in that timeline. So it made sense for them to hold on to it for a couple other days while they finished that really critical piece of line, which put us in a good spot coming in. Since we've been here, our focus has continued to be, number one, firefighter and public safety, which is always our number one focus. But then also we focused heavily on keeping this fire where it was. Like we said earlier, there was a lot of success and a lot of hard work that went into corralling the fire to the point it is now. And when we got here, we wanted to make sure that we didn't lose focus on that being a number one priority. Keep that fire where it is. Also, given where we were going with the critical weather event, as everybody knows, we were going into red flag situations during a transition and just after that very significant firing operation. And so we wanted to be ready to one, keep the fire where it was, but also, given the conditions of the fuels and the extreme nature of fire behavior potential, be ready to assist in an initial attack if necessary. And I want to emphasize that those conditions still exist. This fire is in a really good spot in regards to being secure. It's not out, it's not controlled, but it's in a really good spot that we feel very confident in. But it's not out, and the conditions around that fire continue to be extreme. So I want to echo our prevention, Tony, I think, her message about being vigilant. It's going to be incredibly important that everybody has ownership in this, not just the team that's taking this on and the host units, but everybody in this community will have to continue to be vigilant because the conditions can continue to be such that if we had another start, it could be off to the races again. So in addition to trying to keep the fire where it is and to being prepared for another fight if necessary, another extreme focus for us was to get people back into their homes and to get people access back to the land. And so not long ago, we were able to alleviate all of the warnings and the evacuation orders, and that was a big success. And we feel very grateful for San Luis Obispo County Sheriff's Office and OES for partnering with us throughout on this and working through some really tough conversations about how we keep people safe and how we achieve those objectives. So thanks to all of those folks for the commitment. The commitment they have to your safety and to your communities is immense. And then finally, one of the things that we were tasked with doing was taking on suppression repairs. The fight to corral a 132,000 acre fire is one that creates some kind of damages on the landscape, and we need to get the control of the fire, but we also need to return the land back to a situation where, one, it's not going to create additional health safety issues once the rains and the weather get here and we end up with potential for landslides or those kinds of issues, but also for the characteristics of the land, as it were, the wilderness areas that are involved in this. So we've been engaged heavily with trying to get the fire repaired. And we're feeling really good about where we are with that as we hand this back to the host units of CAL FIRE and the Los Padres National Forest. And I know they will continue with those strong partnerships that we've been developing. The other thing we've been asked to talk about a little bit is what the future looks like. And I will say that I feel like the future is really, I have no doubt of the success of this team moving forward. Again, the relationships and the energy and effort that's been put into making this a solution-oriented, mission-oriented focus rather than, differing policies and differing challenges, we've been focused on how we solve problems together, and it's been seamless. And I have no doubt that in the future, as this goes forward, with the local expertise you have, that it will continue to be so. I feel like this community is fortunate to have the local host units that they have. We feel fortunate to have been here again, and thank you very much for the support you've given our firefighters and our team as we've been here. I will turn that back to our Public Information Officer, Lynn.
Thank you. That concludes the formal presentation part of our evening, and now we will go to questions. No questions from the room. Were there any questions online? No? No questions? No questions online. Okay, well, I would like to thank you for coming and joining us today for our Gifford Fire Community Meeting, and this will conclude the meeting. Please continue to follow us on social media for updated information. Have a good night.